Hello, I am Dr. Joseph R. Kraft, Chairman Emeritus of the Department of Clinical Pathology and Nuclear Medicine at St. Joseph Hospital, Chicago, Illinois. The subject of this presentation is one of great personal interest to me. It is titled Functional Hypoglycemia, Clinical Fact or Fiction. On June 6, 1993, I presented a paper at the 21st proceedings of the Neuro-Otological and Equilibrimetric Society, abbreviated capital NES, in Linköping, Sweden, entitled Functional Hypoglycemia, Clinical Fact or Fiction, Classification by Oral Glucose Insulin Tolerance. Now this is a very important aspect of it. My presentation was at 2 p.m. after a noonday lunch. I started my presentation acknowledging a difference in opinion as to whether or not this subject, known as postprandial drop, was a clinical condition or not. I asked the audience to observe those sitting next to them. Over half the audience was already dozing into dream world. The other half was still alert, became believers. In our 14,384 oral glucose tolerances with insulin assay, there was 5,128, or 36%, with lower glucose levels after the first hour peaking. The glucose levels were between 20 and 59 micrograms per deciliter. 75% of the 5,128 oral glucose tolerances with insulin assays confirmed hyperinsulinemia, type 2 diabetes. My 6 conclusions regarding this interesting presentation are the following. 1. In 5,128 glucose insulin tolerance with hypoglycemia, 75% demonstrated hyperinsulinemia type 2 diabetes. Conclusion number 2, hypoglycemia associated with hyperinsulinemia type 2 diabetes is designated functional hypoglycemia. Conclusion number 3, functional hypoglycemia is identified by insulin assay with oral glucose tolerance whenever the lower glucose levels are between 20 and 50 micrograms per deciliter after, now get that, after the second hour up to the fourth hour of the post-glucose load. The fourth conclusion, elementary hypoglycemia is characterized by glucose insulin tolerance with euinsulinemia or hypoinsulinemia. The lower glucose levels in hypoglycemic range occur before, get that now, occur before the 2-hour post-glucose load. Conclusion number 5. The hypoglycemia designated elementary is due to rapid gastric emptying or dumping. This occurs with gastric resection, duodenal pathology, or a functional evacuation by accelerated peristalsis of varied causes. Conclusion number 6. Postprandial hypoglycemia joins obesity as an indicator for the identification or exclusion of hyperinsulinemia type 2 diabetes by oral glucose tolerance with insulin assays. In the real world, Postprandial hypoglycemia, whether functional or elementary, is truly a subjective clinical entity. Our Mayers expressed postprandial drop in his cartoon Broomhilda in the Chicago Tribune, April 26, 1976. This very gifted cartoonist presents 4 sequential drawings. The first introduced a silent Broomhilda. The second shows her quivering, saying, "Oh, drat." In the third drawing, she is now quivered down to 1/3 of her size. In the fourth drawing, she is now totally collapsed, stating, "I hate those sudden drops in blood sugar levels." I can personally relate to postprandial drop and the clinical hypoglycemia drop during my oral glucose tolerances. The drowsiness lasts about 30 minutes. Reading during this time is impossible. Driving an auto is actually dangerous at this time. I am personally convinced that hypoglycemia postprandial and hypoglycemia associated with oral glucose tolerances are fact and not fiction. In the Wall Street Journal, September 12, 2008, a front page article entitled, quote, "Pilot Fatigue Spurs Calls for New Safeguards." The National Transportation Safety Board addressed pilot fatigue and the danger associated with, quote, "exhausted, overworked, and downright sleepy pilots." One symptom of fatigue that is being studied is microsleep. What is not being addressed is postprandial drop, the drowsiness following eating. Now, postprandial drop definitely occurs in some of the pilots of commercial airlines. How do I know? Pilots are human. They are not exempt from elementary or functional lowering of their blood sugars. Now, should every pilot, even those with normal blood sugars, be tested by oral glucose tolerance with insulin assays in order to exclude or identify increased insulin with lowered blood sugars? Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. Thank you.